GMetrix Photoshop Practice Exam 2 training. I'm going to run through these questions and explain them as fast as I can to help you prepare for the test. The first question says, select yes if the statement is a valid use of the Lasso tool, otherwise select no. Of course, remember that our Lasso tool is our third tool down here. That's the one that allows us to select with a free form, so non-geometric selection is true. We can use that selection to then fill it with a content aware. If we go edit fill, even though we don't have something to do that with right now, so that's true. We cannot group objects from separate layers together. That would be using your layers and adding a folder to group things. And then the final question, to remove a selected area from an image, sure, you can select it, delete it, or whatever you need to do to remove it. So those would be the correct answers. Which area would you select to change the vertical space between lines of type? Remember, we're talking about the space between the lines of type. And the key word here is lines, so that would be our leading, which is right here. That A over the A. Select the status bar. The status bar is what's going on with your document, so it's at the very bottom. Click on the appropriate tool that will erase the yellow area around the image to transparency with a single click. Okay, so that means we're going to select by color because that's a solid yellow. So we've got our magic erase. It's going to erase based on the magic ability to select by color. Which tool in the Select and Mask workspace would you use to add fine details to the selection, like hair, from this image? So if we look at these symbols, what looks like it could be selecting hair, and it's the second one. That tool can help smooth out the edges around her hair. As you edit photos for your client's magazine, it's important to understand which types of editing are destructive and which are non-destructive. Match the appropriate editing type method to the scenarios below. Okay, when you're masking, you can paint to reveal or conceal, so that would be non-destructive. Making adjustments using image adjustment menu. And anytime you're using the menu at the top of your screen here, where you would go to image and adjustments, that's going to be destructive. Adjustment layers, which we have over here, those are non-destructive. Transforming smart objects, that would be a non-destructive editing. And then clone stamp, you're literally moving pixels from one place to the other, so that would be destructive. Remember that smart objects are non-destructive. Match each filter layer option with the type of layer it filters. So it says if you had 200 layers, how could you find just the images that had pixels? That would be A, because images are pixels. B, remember that's where we can find our different adjustment layers. The C is our type, T for type. D, that would be a shape, like a rectangle or something. And then that means E would be our smart object, which is that protected layer that is going to protect from changes. Drag and match the following terms. Okay, let's see. Working space profile associated with the file, it can be changed to meet the output. So that's your color mode. It's what kind of, you're using black and white, or what kind of profile is your document. The range of colors, that means like there's so many different ranges. Print is different range of colors than the RGB, which would be your screen. So gamut is the range of colors. Color mode, which pixels are assigned a percent value for each of the process inks. We're talking about ink now, so that's cyan, magenta, yellow, black. A color mode where each pixel is assigned an intensity value, so that's going to be viewed on the screen. That would be RGB, red, green, blue. The amount of color information available for each pixel in the image, the more of the bit depth, think of the deeper it goes, the more color you can have, the more saturation you can have. An image that includes only black and white and gray scale. There you go. From the following choices, select the best definition for typography. Okay, that's how we use letters to make things look nice. So let's see, we've got the art and design of arranging type when choosing font and font style and color. That sounds good, but let's look at the others. Use alignment, proximity, and contrast to emphasize certain text. Well, that's true, but it's not the best. We're looking for the best definition. That's the trick here. The feeling that's conveyed, there are feelings, but that's not the best. Emphasizing important elements through organization. So everything's true, but the art and design of arranging type is the best definition. It's important to consider copyright anytime you work on a project. Which statement correctly describes a copyright? A copyright means it's somebody owns it and it's theirs to keep. So it's not a temporary thing. It is an exclusive right to profit from your own work. And it has nothing to do with these other things. It's not a digital key. It's not a legal thing. When applying a filter to a text layer, how can you ensure that the type's editability is not lost? Well, remember that our smart object protects things so we don't make a permanent change to them. Rasterizing would turn the type into a picture, so that's not true. And enable the editability, there's no permanent editability option. And although this is somewhat true, because if it's a document, there's still with Photoshop, there's still things you could do that you would lose the editability. So the converting the type layer into a smart object is the best and most correct answer here. True or false? By default, Quick Export generates assets as a Photoshop file and prompts you to select an export location. The Quick Export, remember, allows us to do things like a PNG, so that would be false. It's the whole idea is it gives you something that's not a Photoshop file, so you can share it with other people. The two methods to ensure the brushes panel are visible. Okay, if I would go to Window and I change my workspace to painting, I'm going to get my brushes panel right here. So, but I got to go back to my GMetrix so I can see the question. So we want to select the workspace that's painting, and then also if we go to Window and just make sure our brushes are on, we're also going to see all of our brushes panels. So it's not just selecting the tool, it's not the history brush, it's not the brush icon in the layers panel, which there is none, and it's not a preset in the properties panel. Change Photoshop to automatically save recovery information every 15 minutes. Remember, any kind of automatic settings are going to be in our preferences. So we go to Edit, all the way down to Preferences at the bottom. And then we can see there's a whole bunch of choices here. This is where they like to have us do our guides and things, but it's the file handling that's going to auto save. File handling. And then there's the window. We want it to automatically save every 15 minutes. Okay.